The lights dimmed in the grand auditorium of the Smithsonian American History Museum, transformed for one evening into a stage where political generations would clash. It was a night many had waited for, a nationally televised youth town hall, moderated by CNN and streamed across every major platform. The event had been promoted for weeks, a rare and dramatic face-off between Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and political newcomer Barron Trump. On stage stood two podiums. To the left, Jasmine Crockett, a firebrand Democrat from Texas known for her sharp intellect, unapologetic tone, and viral comebacks. She wore a sleek crimson pantsuit, a quiet nod to her power and confidence. Her record was formidable, but it was her charisma and fearless voice that made her a rising star among young progressives. To the right, Barron Trump, son of the 45th, President of the United States, tall, poised, and media-trained. Now 21, Barron had largely stayed out of politics during his father's presidency, but had recently stepped into the spotlight. With backing from Turning Point USA and the Young Conservatives of America, he had entered the national discourse. With carefully rehearsed talking points and a message aimed at restoring tradition and freedom, the contrast was stark. One embodied disruption of the status quo for the sake of justice. The other offered a polished return to American values. Neither was here to play it safe. Opening statements. Barron went first. Good evening. I'm here tonight not as a politician, but as a young American who wants to preserve the freedoms that built this country. We've seen too many radical changes pushed by far-left elites who don't represent the average youth. I'm here to speak for the silenced, the overlooked, the patriotic. There was a scattering of applause, mostly from the right-leaning section. Barron smiled, his tone smooth and calm. Then Jasmine stepped up. Let me be clear. I'm not here to represent the radical left. I'm here to represent students. Dodging bullets in classrooms, kids crushed by student debt, and young people scared their planet won't survive their lifetime. You say you want to preserve the past, Barron. I want to build the future. The applause that followed shook the floor. Even the moderator smiled. Round 1, education. The first question came from a 17-year-old high school senior in the crowd. What will you do to fix our broken education system? Barron leaned in. We need to put power back in the hands of parents. School choice is the answer. If we fund students instead of institutions, we'll empower families and end the monopoly of public education. Polite applause, Jasmine replied, not missing a beat. Barron. With all due respect, school choice sounds great when you've always had choice. But most kids in America aren't born into privilege and need properly funded public schools, qualified teachers, and mental health support, not vouchers that send money to private institutions while their classrooms crumble. The crowd roared. She continued, this isn't about power to parents. It's about power to all children, not just the ones with the right zip code. Barron tried to respond, but his mic was briefly cut for time. The momentum had shifted. Round 2. Climate change. College students stood and asked bluntly, will my grandchildren still have a planet to live on? Barron sighed and leaned into his populist roots. We need a realistic conversation about climate. Fossil fuels have driven our economy. The Green New Deal is a socialist pipe dream. Let's talk innovation, not regulations that kill jobs. Jasmine raised an eyebrow and smiled. Young people don't want half measures. They want bold change. Climate change isn't a partisan issue. It's a survival issue. You talk about jobs. Clean energy is the fastest growing job sector. Your version of realism is denial dressed in a suit. She turned to the crowd. Let me ask you this. If your house was on fire, would you ask for realistic help? Or would you demand? Someone throw water on it now? The audience erupted again. A chant started from the back. Jasmine. Jasmine. The viral moment things escalated in round 3. A moderator brought up the issue of racial justice. Barron responded with a textbook conservative talking point. There's no systemic racism in America. We had a black president. We have black billionaires. If anything, we need to stop dividing people by race. Jasmine turned slowly to him. Her voice dropped an octave. I'm glad you mentioned Obama, Barron. Because that man, who you say proves racism is over, had to show his birth certificate just to prove he was American. Your father led that charge, gasps. Barron's face tensed. The moderator intervened to keep things civil, but Jasmine wasn't done. And let me be very clear, having rich black celebrities doesn't mean racism is solved. That's like saying because you saw a unicorn once, horses don't exist. The crowd exploded. Twitter began trending. #UnicornLogic. Barron muttered something under his breath. Cameras caught it. Subtitles later revealed it was, "That's ridiculous." But the damage was done. Jasmine had seized the night to be continued. The topic: the future of America's youth. Voices, visions, and values. The crowd was buzzing. Teens in varsity jackets, college students with notebooks, young professionals, activists all gathered to witness a moment that had already felt historic before a single word was spoken. The hosts had described it as a civic dialogue, but the tension in the air made it feel like a heavyweight boxing match with microphones instead of gloves. The town hall stage had become electric. Jasmine Crockett's last jab, comparing token. Black success to Unicorn Logic had become an instant meme across social media platforms. TikTok, Instagram, and X, formerly Twitter, exploded with clips. In real time, a CNN poll showed viewer sentiment swinging sharply in her favor. Barron Trump, visibly rattled, adjusted his tie and forced a thin smile. He wasn't used to this kind of heat. His training had prepared him for debate points, not unpredictable barbs that cut through the armor of rehearsed rhetoric. The moderator tried to bring the tone back down. "Let's pivot." She said, "This next question is from Lily. She's a young entrepreneur from Seattle." The camera cut to a girl with purple hair and a denim jacket patched with climate slogans. She looked nervous, but determined. "My question is for both candidates. What's your plan for making the economy more accessible to young people who don't come from money?" A serious, relevant question? And a landmine. "Barron strikes first. Well," Barron began, "we have to lower taxes across the board. That's how you stimulate innovation. Young people don't need handouts. They need opportunity. Deregulation, tax cuts, and free markets are the American way. I'm living proof that success is possible if you take initiative." The silence in the crowd was telling. It wasn't anger, it was skepticism. Barron, intentionally or not, had walked into a trap. He had used the words living proof, forgetting, perhaps, the privilege he was born into. Jasmine pounces. Jasmine nodded slowly, hands clasped at her podium, as if absorbing his answer fully. Then she struck. "Barron, with all due respect, you were born in a gold-plated penthouse. Most young Americans are born trying to dig their way out of medical debt, predatory loans, and minimum wage jobs that don't even pay rent." The audience clapped. She continued, "You say handouts, I say leveling the field. You say deregulation, I say corporations already make billions off unpaid internships and gig workers without rights. You want to talk initiative? These kids have initiative. What they don't have is a system that rewards it unless their last name is Trump or Musk." She looked straight at him. "You're not proof of what's possible, Barron. You're proof of how far a name can carry you without policy, purpose, or pain." The crowd went silent for a moment, not in shock, but in that heavy way people go silent when they know a truth just landed. Then a slow clap started, erupted. Barron blinked. A visible flush crept up his neck. He looked to the moderator, hoping she'd pivot. She didn't. Instead, she asked the follow-up. "Mr. Trump, would you like to respond?" He tried. "Well, I think we should be focused on unity, not division. Congresswoman Crockett seems more interested in attacking me personally than offering real solutions." The audience reacts. That didn't land. Someone in the back yelled, "Answer the question." Another voice called out, "Trust fund, baby." The moderator quickly called for decorum, but the damage was done. Barron had lost the room. Meanwhile, Jasmine adjusted the mic slightly and leaned forward. "I'll tell you what real solutions look like," she said. "Tuition-free community college. Universal health care so students don't skip treatment. Rent control so people can live in the cities where they work. And a living wage. It's not $7.25 an hour, not even $15, but a living wage. That's what economic freedom looks like. Even the camera crew clapped. The personal blow baron tried to pivot hard. You talk about fairness, Congresswoman, but didn't you vote against small business tax relief last year? You're all talk on helping the little guy, but when it comes down to it, you support bloated spending that hurts the very people in this room. Jasmine smiled like she had been waiting for that exact attack. Cute, she said. The crowd chuckled. Then she raised a manila folder from beneath her podium. This is the full text of the bill you're referring to. At 2007-41, I voted against it because 92% of the relief went to corporations already receiving subsidies. You know how much went to actual small businesses under 5 employees? 3%. She looked directly at Barron again. You call that relief? I call that robbery in a suit. Someone shouted fire from the back in the audience. Laughed. Jasmine lowered the folder slowly like a mic drop. A sharp closing moment. The debate was nearing its final round. The moderator asked both candidates to give a 90-second closing statement. Barron went first. I believe in America. I believe we are a great country that's lost its way. We don't need more government, more division, or more blame. We need pride. We need family. We need strength. Not perfect, but I'm here because I care. He stepped back. Oh, some claps. From a dwindling conservative corner of the room, then Jasmine stepped forward. She paused for a long beat. I believe in America too, she said. But I believe in fixing it. Loving your country doesn't mean ignoring its pain. It means healing it. If your house has a broken roof, you don't sit inside and chant this house is perfect. You fix it brick by brick.
She scanned
the room. I believe in the students watching from dorm rooms, wondering if their voice matters. I believe in the teenagers scared to walk to school without getting shot. I believe in the single moms, the climate activists, the queer kids, the dreamers. I believe in you. Her voice broke slightly, just enough to make it real. You deserve more than speeches. You deserve action. And I promise you, I'm not here for the likes or the clips. I'm here for the fight. Standing ovation. The debate was over. Backstage. In fallout backstage, Jasmine sat with her team, sipping water, exhausted, but smiling. Barron walked past silently with his handlers. No press invited into his post-debate room. The internet, however, needed no permission. Within minutes, Unicorn Logic trended #1 worldwide. A clip of Jasmine saying, "You're not proof of what's possible, you're proof of privilege." Racked up 3 million views in 30 minutes. TikTokers began remixing her best lines with beats. Even celebrities began chiming in. Cardi B tweeted, Jasmine 80. Fox News ran a damage control segment titled, Was Crockett Too Harsh? While MSNBC aired a highlight reel titled, A Political Generation Has Arrived. The Barron statement the next day. Barron's camp released a short press statement. Barron Trump was honored to be part of the youth town hall. While he may disagree with Representative Crockett on policy, he believes in civil discourse and hopes for more respectful dialogue in the future. Commentators on both sides noticed one thing. The word debate was never used. Jasmine, meanwhile, was booked on 4 major news shows within 12 hours. She didn't gloat. She spoke about the importance of young voices and how this moment isn't about the morning after the youth town hall felt less like a news cycle and more like a cultural earthquake. By sunrise, major networks were scrambling to keep up. Hashtags trended on every platform. Memes, headlines, and reaction videos cascaded through the internet like an avalanche. The highlight reel of Jasmine Crockett's most powerful moments was already subtitled in 6 languages and had been reposted by international activists. It was no longer just a debate, it was a turning point. The media. Frenzy's CNN opened with, Crockett captures a generation. Fiery town hall sparks youth political surge. MSNBC went with, A rising star dismantles dynastic entitlement. Fox News, however, aired a defensive spin. Was Crockett disrespectful? Critics slammed performative politics, But the real battlefield was online YouTube. Creators uploaded side-by-side breakdowns of Jasmine's rhetorical style. TikTokers lip-synced her lines. Twitter flooded with remixes of her final speech, mashed with gospel choirs or beat drops. Instagram Reels used her quotes as motivational captions. Even Reddit's political threads were unified for once. Most users, even some on the center-right, admitted she won. The most shared image across platforms, a still of Jasmine's calm expression right after saying, "You're proof of how far a name can carry you without policy, purpose, or pain." It became iconic overnight. Barron Trump's conservative base scrambled to regain footing. Charlie Kirk tweeted, "What happened last night wasn't a debate. It was a hit job wrapped in applause. Shame on CNN for stacking the crowd." Tucker Carlson, broadcasting from his independent platform, tried a more subtle approach. It's fascinating, isn't it? The left claims to care about unity, but the second a Trump enters the conversation, they come with knives. And this Crockett woman, she didn't debate Barron. She tried to publicly humiliate him. But even among conservative circles, the critique was fractured. Some older conservatives called for respect and tradition, but many Gen Z conservatives remained quiet. Barron had been their best shot at reaching younger voters, and he had been outshined. Not by a polished careerist, but by someone who spoke like she meant it. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill inside Democratic offices, Crockett's phone never stopped. Buzzing, members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus reached out to congratulate her. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez retweeted a clip of Jasmine's broken roof. Metaphor with the caption, "We don't ignore the cracks. We fix them. Let's go." Vice President Kamala Harris called personally, "You did more for our party in 90 minutes than most consultants have in 5 years," she said. "Take a break, but not for long." Jasmine laughed, exhausted but exhilarated. "I don't think I could sleep even if I tried." Then came the biggest call from President Joe Biden himself. His voice was raspy but warm. "You gave him hell, Jasmine. Reminded folks what we're fighting for." She didn't fanfare it. "Just told the truth, Mr. President." "Oh, keep doing it," he said. "The country's listening." Youth reaction. A generation finds its voice in colleges and high schools across the nation. Jasmine Crockett became a symbol not just of liberal fire, but of guts. Her performance inspired hundreds of youth-led events in the days that followed at Howard University. Students held a Crockett watch party encore with a panel afterward. At UCLA, a classroom replaced their regularly scheduled lesson with a breakdown of her rhetorical tactics. At a high school in Atlanta, student government leader wrote Jasmine a handwritten letter. "You made me believe we could win. For the first time, I want to run for something." The national youth poll conducted 3 days later showed staggering numbers. 78% of viewers ages 18 to 25 said Jasmine Crockett was more in touch with their concerns than any current major political figure. 63% said they were more likely to vote in the next election because of the town hall, and 92% said Barron Trump seemed unprepared or out of touch. Barron retreats, then reframes after 48 hours of silence. Barron Trump finally reemerged, not on a national stage, but through a controlled podcast appearance with a friendly conservative host. Wearing a hoodie instead of a suit, Barron tried to reposition himself. That night wasn't easy, he admitted, but I learned a lot. I think it's clear I need to sharpen my arguments and connect better with people outside my circle. The host offered him a softball. "Do you think Jasmine Crockett went too far?" Barron smirked. "I think she came to win, and she did. But I'll be back. This isn't the last time they hear from me." Clips of the interview went viral, but not in the way his team hoped. Top comments read, "He finally said something. Real, still soft, still sheltered. He's learning." But she's already leading. Jasmine's next moves, despite the calls for celebration, Jasmine remained focused. She refused multiple book deals and declined a Netflix offer for a dramatized special. "I'm not interested in being famous," she said in an interview. "I'm interested in being effective." Still, her team recognized the momentum. Again, a week, her fundraising page saw a record-breaking spike. not just from Texas, but from all 50 states. She channeled the energy into a youth outreach initiative. Mic Up Mondays, a weekly online series where she'd take live questions from young Americans. No filters, no scripts. The first episode drew 1.8 million viewers. Jasmine Crockett wasn't just a politician anymore. She was a movement, the real debate political. Strategists across the spectrum quietly admitted what most of America already sensed. This wasn't about Barron Trump. It's Jasmine Crockett. It was about legacy versus authenticity, inheritance versus earned voice, performance versus purpose. One had been handed a stage. The other had built hers from grit, loss, and the audacity to speak the truth. Loudly, passionately, and without permission. As political writer Jamal Dawson put it in The Atlantic, Barron Trump brought a surname. Jasmine Crockett brought the storm. Me, it's about the movement. 2 weeks had passed since the town hall, but the echoes of that night hadn't faded. They had deepened in Washington. It became known as the debate that shifted the youth vote. Journalists, policy wonks, and speechwriters dissected Jasmine Crockett's performance as though it were a master class in political communication. But to the people, especially the younger generation, it wasn't about rhetoric. It was about recognition. Someone had finally said what they were screaming into voids for years, and they weren't done listening. Jasmine on the road, instead of capitalizing on her newfound fame with TV tours and elite fundraisers, Jasmine did something different. She hit the road. Her first stop? Flint, Michigan, not for press. But to sit with young mothers and high schoolers living with the aftermath of a water crisis still unresolved. The next, Jackson, Mississippi, where she walked through broken school buildings and asked teachers what they needed. Then she went to South Central Los Angeles, where she met with teen poets, tech apprentices, and former gang members turned mentors. At every stop, one line was repeated: "You speak like we already matter." And Jasmine would always reply, "That's because you do." Reporters trailed her, but she didn't give them headline-ready sound bites. She gave them silence when needed, pausing to listen. Sometimes, just being present said more than a speech ever could. Meanwhile, Barron's dilemma: while Jasmine was shaking hands in grassroots communities, Barron Trump was reevaluating. Behind closed doors, his advisors were at war. Some insisted he'd disappear for a while and rebuild. Others pushed him to lean harder into the culture war rhetoric, fire back, attack, polarize. But Barron hesitated. For the first time, he wasn't just reacting to politics, he was feeling it. Quietly, he began reading, watching, studying. Watched Jasmine's town hall again, alone. Not as an opponent, but as a student. She believed what she said, he later confessed to a friend. That's the difference. One evening, in an off-the-record conversation, he asked a speechwriter, "How do I actually connect with people who don't like me?"
Cut!
Convince them. Just connect. It wasn't the question his father would have asked, but it might have been the most honest thing he'd ever said. Ripple effects in politics. The debate's impact rippled beyond Crockett and Trump. 3 high school students in Florida launched their own local candidate town hall inspired by the format. Hundreds attended. Dozens of youth-led campaigns across the country cited Jasmine as the reason they started organizing. Civic tech startups saw a spike in teen signups for voter registration tools, breaking records. At the same time, the Democratic Party, often criticized for being slow and reactive, began taking notes. In one internal DNC meeting, a strategist admitted, "She just gave us a blueprint for 2026 and beyond. Speak clearly, speak truth. Speak to them, not at them." Progressive candidates started adopting Jasmine's communication style, not copying her, but channeling the clarity, fire, and unshakable belief in regular people. Even moderate Republicans began asking, "Where's our Jasmine? Who's talking to our youth?" They had no answer. A surprising call one evening, Jasmine's phone rang. "Is this Representative Crockett?" the voice asked. "It was Michelle Obama. I just wanted to say, you did something that will echo far beyond last week, last month, or even this term," the former First Lady said. You reminded people that power doesn't have to come from pedigree. Jasmine, usually quick-witted and fast-tongued, found herself speechless for once. After a long pause, she whispered, "Thank you." "That means more than I can say before hanging up," Michelle added. "Don't stop. We're watching. They're watching. Legacy." Making as midterms approached, there was talk, quiet but growing, about Jasmine's future. Could she be VP material? Should she lead the DNC? Is she the Obama of Gen Z? But Jasmine waved it all off. "I'm not trying to be anybody's symbol," she told a journalist. "I just want to do the job and shake the walls while I do it." Still, people saw what was forming. A leader not born of dynasty, not engineered by consultants, but forged in struggle, truth, and refusal to play small. Even her critics had to admit she wasn't a moment. She was a movement. Final line of the televised town hall replayed one last time across screens around the country. "You say you want to preserve the past? I want to build the future, and for millions of young Americans, that future had just begun."